boil this down for people. You have a choice. Those of you watching on the internet, those of you listening on the radio, those of you, if this makes it on Nightline, you have a choice to make as a civilization, as a society. You have a choice that you need to make. You can't be in the middle of the road. You can't be on the fence. You were hot nor cold, so God spit you out of his mouth. You've got to make a decision. It'd be like a decision against Stalin. Are you for Stalin or against Stalin? Are you for Hitler or against Hitler? I'm against Hitler. I'm against Stalin. I'm against all forms of despotism and oppression over humanity, period. I am for justice. I am against the globalists and all of their policies, because all of their policies are designed to bring us to absolute serfdom, to be homeless on the continent our forefathers conquered. It is that simple. Here's a story out of AP today. Unemployment challenges Obama's economic narrative. That's a nice way of saying he's lying. The economy has been degenerating for more than a decade. Most of the money you pay in taxes goes on interest to the debt. That's why the big banks lobby for bigger government, because it gets the government in deeper debt to them, and they made the money up out of nothing. Here's another one. Economist. The stimulus didn't help. CNN. Oh, they need a new one. We told you a year ago in the Obama deception, they called for another bailout. They used the trillions of dollars they got in a bailout, not just the $887 billion, but the open window to the Federal Reserve and other mechanisms that Bloomberg's reported is $28 trillion and growing, to freeze loans, to shut down Main Street, to be so flush with cash they didn't need to loan until the economy fully imploded so they can buy it up for pennies on the dollar. Here's the Washington Post. For nations living the good life, the party's over, IMF says. How many times has the IMF gone into third world nations that dread them, that hate them, that understand they are the tyrants? The hundreds of nations in the last 60 years that the IMF and World Bank have wrecked, which are holding companies for the big private central banks. These are criminals. They are economic hitmen. I mean, in 2002, the BBC got internal IMF World Bank documents where they were rigging the destruction of third world countries and planning to do it to the West next. That's in my book, Descent into Tyranny, written 8 years ago. We've been warning you. We had their plans. Their plans have fallen into our hands. We're not flying blind here. We know what they're going to do. And just as we told you a year ago, they would then come out and propose, oh, you're never going to get your standard of living back. We've got to cut all your services. All the money goes to us. And now that's happening. In the lingo of the International Monetary Fund, the future of the world hinges on rebalancing and consolidation, antiseptic words that would seem to not raise a fuss. Who doesn't want more balance in their life? But the translation is a bit ruder, something on the order of, suck it up, the party's over. And that's the headline. And to keep it on track, they need more taxes, it says it right here, more taxes, less services. You see, they hold you hostage, give us trillions or we'll cause a depression. Henry Paulson went before the House and Senate and told them that in closed session. We had congressmen on to tell you this before it was even mainstream news, threatening them with financial terrorism. And it continues here with them saying the party is over. More taxes, less services. This is a quote, raising retirement age in line with life expectancy. On and on and on by this predatory group of Madoff-Ken Lay types. Who came up with the carbon tax derivatives? Ken Lay. Who came up with a lot of the derivatives we face? Bernie Madoff. It's all their... Madoff founded the NASDAQ. This is all that these people are. That's who they are. That's what they do. They're a pack of vermin crooks. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're going to destroy everyone's way of life and our free market system because they want a command and control system. You have the artificial banking cartel waging war against reality, waging war against the real economy. They are threatened by any form of independence, by any form of liberty, by any form of freedom. Go read the article for yourself. For nations living the good life, the party's over. Oh, they promised NAFTA and GATT was going to give you milk and honey, but it lowered your standard of living. Now they're promising total amnesty is going to help you. Whatever they say is the opposite. They never tell the truth, except when they're laughing at you, throwing it in your face. But this is a lie, too. It says, do what they say and accept living like they do in Argentina or in Mexico or how they live in Nigeria. That's how you're going to live now, with the super class up there doing whatever they want, however they want. No future for your children. Here's another key article, and it's got links into the Wall Street Journal and other publications. It's the economic collapse. Megabanks, the banking oligarchy that controls the equivalent to 60% of America's GNP. Today's financial power being concentrated in the hands of fewer and fewer individuals. In fact, the 6 biggest banks in the United States now possess assets equivalent to 60% of America's gross national product. Back in the 1990s, that figure was less than 20%. These 6 banks, and these are your enemies, these are the criminal groups. This is why the ADL's calling for law enforcement action against me, because they're a spokesperson for these banks. And you don't want to be robbed and be economically conquered. They're going to say you're a terrorist because you're exposing them. You're pointing out the emperor is butt naked. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, Bank of America, Wells Fargo literally dictate what goes on in the U.S. banking industry. And now they've got a banking reform bill to shut down and take over all their competition and put a VAT tax at the UN level, the G20 level, and at the national level. Here is the London Guardian. But it says, oh, the big banks are going to get it socked to them when they're the ones that wrote this. We have the G20 document. And it says right here, not just banks, but all financial institutions with a value-added fat tax, as it's known, on you, paid directly to a private global consortium. What do you think Mexico does? What do you think Brazil does? What do you think Argentina does? What do you think Malaysia does? What do you think African countries do, or Arab countries when they go into hock to the IMF and World Bank? They pay their taxes directly to them. That we are now being looted like a third world nation. The bankers took their time, used America as an engine of global domination, and now they're taking over this country in a big, stinking way. Back in the 1990s, the figure was less than 20%. These banks now control more than 60%, literally dictate what goes on in the U.S. banking industry. These entities are the poster children for too big to fail, and they donate massive amounts of cash to the campaigns of both Republicans and Democrats. And so, yeah, the Republicans can ride back to power promising to change all this, just like Obama rode to power promising to change it. But look at who financed all of them. They all work for the same people. It's a sick joke. Here's another one. Emails show Goldman Sachs executives boasting as housing meltdown unfolded, how they were going to destroy their competition, how they were going to be able to get even more power. It's all funny to them, and now they're up there lying before Congress, and Congress is looking at one little area of corruption, and maybe they'll slap one of their mid-level execs on the hand and give them a $5 million fine for hundreds of billions they got. It's just... Look, they're going to give us no quarter. Just know you're going to be third world slaves with a paramilitary force controlling your life because you let a bunch of Ken Lay, Bernie Madoffs run your life, okay? And so now today, Congress has had this Goldman Sachs show hearing, but they turned it into a big feel sorry for themselves situation. And here's more on the economic terrorism. Just like they say, give us trillions of dollars or you'll have a depression, then the day after they pass the banking bailout bill, October 4th, they say, we now won't tell you where the money went. Sit down and shut up. It's secret. Well, it's the same thing with Greece. It was Goldman Sachs 10 years ago, and now their top finance minister is a former Goldman Sachs operative. They're coming to Europe saying you're going to have a depression if you don't give us unlimited money in Greece. See, the whole EU was about absorbing countries and taking control of them and getting them into debt. These banks just gobble everything up in a paramilitary fashion. This is what they do. And we have to just sit here and watch them rape us, watch them take our country over, watch them turn our police into a paramilitary force to dominate our lives and make sure we put up with all this. Have to watch them raise all these new taxes to be fed to the bankers and watch the bankers laugh at us and say, you're never getting America back. We're going to take everything you got. Aha. And hiring all these fake environmentalists to make it a religion of being poor, a religion of how it's good for the earth to be poor, but the bankers get to have all our tax money and all the carbon tax money. And so now they're holding Europe hostage again. Greek meltdown in danger of spreading. Germany, France, the International Monetary Fund must act quickly to bail out Greece to prevent a slide in confidence in financial markets, Alistair Darling said yesterday. And then meanwhile, again, the money is to be paid to the private J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and others.